What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another Prizepicks MLB player props video. This one going to be breaking down this 6-pick flex that I did already lock in myself, that I did already send over to my VIP members this morning. Going to be giving you the exact details as to why I like every single one of these plays throughout this video. Before I do have to let you know about the VIP offering. If this video provides you with value, you're like, this guy knows what he's talking about, I want more picks, more access to his content 24/7, the VIP member package is going to be where it's at. Had a huge day over there. So before we get into the breakdown, got to give some shout outs, man, because we had a ton of winners over in the winner circle with 2 different MLB sweeps. If you didn't tune into my live stream yesterday, absolutely cashed in. Ricky, 24, turning 10 into 100 right here with the 4 pick of the 4 pitchers. We were really solid on this 4 core of these pitchers. 5 into 125 on the first 6 pick that we locked in here. And then another 5 and a 125 on the second 6 pick that we locked in here. So those are the 2 sweeps. We had the Burns, Nola, Rodon, and Singer fantasy score to go along with the Schwarber and Harper fantasy score. And then the second variation, we had the Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr. fantasy score. So as we continue along here, you're going to see a lot of different people in the winner circle with that same combination. 5 and a 125 for Dylan, 10 into 100 here, 5 into 125 again. 20 into 200. So, I mean, he's more than paid for his membership for the month and then months going forward in one day, obviously. It's crazy when you're really cashing in on these, how quickly you can build your bankroll with 5 and 6 pick flexes on Prizepicks. 50 into 1250 for Quais. Riddicks had this one as well. 5 and a 125. 5 into 10 here with a double up. This was actually the third variation we ran with the Juan Soto and Aaron Judge fantasy. If Juan Soto came through, we would have had 3 sweeps. But regardless, still a really good day. As you can see, 5 and a 125 again for Riddicks. 20 into 500 for Ackley. 20 into 500 again. And then that 10 into 100 with the 4 pick of the pitchers. I know multiple people in the VIP ran that 4 pick power. Joe Drift with 5 into 50. Eros with 25 into 50, another one with 25 into 625 here, and another one with 25 into 625. So you can see it was a massive day over there. A ton of different people cashing in. Kenshiro Pao, myself with those 2. Like I said, these are the exact tickets I send in as soon as I place them, right? And so fourth, Big Jokes as well, cashing in with combination. These guys mixed my NBA and my MLB picks. So Dylan, another one with 5 and a 125. And then Ed the Fred, 100 into 1,000. 35 into 875. 35 into 875 again. So shout out to every single one of the VIP members. I'd love to have you join, guys. Once again, I'm going to be sharing with you guys actual plays that I'm actually playing on this channel. If you see me promote any of the plays, I'm actually playing them and backing them with my own money. And I send them immediately over to the VIP. So you can see when it comes to this one, the first one I sent in today, it's going to be a 5-star, 2-unit play because I really like these plays. So 4 stars, 1 unit, you're going to see a lot of those in my VIP. If I send in that 5-star, we're going 2 units on the ticket because I really like it. I think there's some good value. This falls under that umbrella here. Today. So I'm sharing the very first one with you for free. Let's get into the breakdown. If you're interested in that, that'll be linked below in the description. It's on Patreon. You purchase and you're going to access the Discord immediately. Without further ado, let's break down exactly why I like these plays today. So pick number 1 is going to be Ranger Suarez over 30.5 pitcher fantasy score. First thing we need to get out of the way, if you don't know how the Prizepicks fantasy scoring format works for Prizepicks, the pitching will cover first. 6 points for the win, 4 points for the quality start, -3 for earned runs, +3 for strikeouts, and +1 for outs. If you're listening to this video, please keep in mind, guys, the win and the quality start bonus are not applied to the fantasy score until after the game oftentimes. So if the pitcher gets taken out of the game and he's still under his fantasy score, he could still qualify for these bonuses. The win is if a pitcher goes 5 or more innings in a game. He exits the game with his team leading the game. His team never gives up the lead. They don't allow the other team to tie it up the rest of the game. And then his team wins, okay? A quality start is when he goes 6 or more innings and allows 3 or less earned runs. They have to be earned runs. So in baseball, there's a thing such as runs and earned runs. If his team makes errors in the field and the other team scores because of the errors rather than his pitching performance, they're not going to qualify as earned runs. So might be a little complicated for those of you that are new to baseball, don't quite understand what's going on, but just know that I know all this. This is all factored in the picks, all right? So long story short, you don't really have to worry about that. I'm helping you out for free here because I already have the knowledge of all of these bonuses and how these work. Let's break down the data here. Rangers Warriors taking on the Texas Rangers over the last 30 days and on the current season. They've really struggled more so versus left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. Ranger Suarez is a left-handed pitcher, and he's been absolutely dominant this year in every single category. He's got a 26% K rate to lefties, 26.6% K rate to righties, doesn't walk anybody. The ground ball, fly ball stuff's fantastic. Like, what you're seeing on the screen right now is just ridiculously good. The guy's been really dominant, and he's expected to get a lot of run support from his offense. He's a 172 favorite. The Philadelphia Phillies have a 4.79 implied run total. Why does that matter? Because of those bonuses we just discussed. We want him to get that win. That's going to be another 6 fantasy points. So that's all factored into the research on the back end on my end. There's a highly likelihood he's going to get the win. There's a highly likelihood he's going to go 6 or more innings. I look at the pitch counts for all these guys, all that stuff. Really the only negative thing he's got going on here for him, I mean, the Rangers are no slouch as far as an offense. Marcus Semion's going to be the scariest threat, and then Adolis Garcia in the middle of the order. But if you go to the last 30 days, it's really just those two. And then we talked about the Rangers Suarez hard contact. Limiting the hard contact is what makes me feel even better about this year. And lastly, those are the only two that really worry me from a power aspect or anything. Like, a lot of these numbers are pretty subpar here. Okay, so I think he's in a good spot to go 6 or more innings, get that quality start, get that win, and then pick up some strikeouts along the way. Seager, Nathaniel Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Josh Smith, all high strikeout guys. So there's going to be some strikeouts mixed in there as well, obviously, to provide us with the upside for Rangers Suarez today. Okay, so that'll be pick number 1. That's the full breakdown. You're going to hear a lot of the similar talking points for the pitchers that I'm looking at, because it just so happens these are all pitcher fantasy score props on the channel today, right? So next guy is going to be Joe Ryan. Let's go ahead and break him down. Ryan taking on the Washington Nationals. This is a guy that has been much more dominant versus left-handed hitting, ironically, on the season. Typically in the MLB, in baseball, you hear me talk about this, if it's the opposite handedness pitcher or hitter, they're going to have more success. So typically, right-handed pitchers will do better versus right-handed batters. Left-handed pitchers will do better versus left-handed batters. Joe Ryan has been an exception to that rule. He's been much more effective versus left-handed hitting, and he's expected to see a ton of lefties today in this Washington Nationals lineup. He's a minus 184 favorite, so once again, going to be good for that win bonus. Abrams, lefty. Rosario, lefty. Winker, lefty. Luis Garcia, lefty. Joey Gallo, lefty. Keibert Ruiz, lefty. The only two righties he's going to have to face in this lineup are going to be Jacob Young, Nick Senzel, and Joey Meneses, all of which are not too threatening. So this is fantastic for his matchup, obviously, right? This is last 30 days data. We can pull up the whole entire current season. They've been pretty respectable overall, but a lot of left-handed hitting. And then, like I said, I like to look at these last 30. They're starting to fall off a little bit. Joey Gallo strikes out 60% of the time. He's a lefty with a ton of strikeouts. Joe Ryan is a guy with an elite strikeout upside. And once again, it's all the way up to a 30% K rate versus the lefties, dips down to a 25% K rate versus righties. So we want him to be facing a ton of lefties, and he is doing that today. Rosario strikes out 25% of the time, 22% of the time, 22% of the time. When you combine the elite strikeout stuff with like a 29, 30% K rate for Joe Ryan to go along with the mid to upper 20s, if not low 20s, there's going to be a lot of strikeouts to be had in this lineup. And once again, he is a heavy favorite. His offense has taken on Patrick Corbin, not as good of a opposing pitcher. That's going to help us with those win bonuses. Okay, so similar story here. All the data is leading to this being a fantastic matchup. Joe Ryan's got elite strikeout stuff, and these fantasy scores that I'm talking about today are very reasonably priced. They're all in like the low 30s. So if we can get these guys to go 6 innings, get a few strikeouts, don't give up too many runs, get those wins and those quality starts, we're going to be looking real good on every single one of these. Clark Schmidt, next guy we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead and break him down real quick for you. Clark gets to take on the Seattle Mariners, which have been one of the best teams to target all year long for strikeouts. This is a guy that has a 33% K rate versus left-handed hitting. He's got a 20.4% K rate versus righties. Does dip down a little bit. So once again, we would prefer to see quite a few lefties if at all possible, right? And we do have 1 lefty, 2 lefty, 3 lefty, 4 lefty, 5 lefty. So it's a little bit of a mix here, but the Seattle Mariners are one of the best, if not the best. I think they have to be the best strikeout boost matchup in the entire MLB this year. There's just strikeouts throughout this entire lineup. It's quite ridiculous. As you can see, all this red going on throughout the current season. We can break down the last 30-day data as well. It's not been much better. They have a lot of power throughout the lineup, but they also have a ton of strikeouts. Clark Schmidt's backed by one of the best offenses in baseball in the New York Yankees, so this is, once again, factored in, right? We're looking at a -166 favorite on the juice. They're taking on Brian Wu. This is fantastic for those pitcher fantasy score bonuses that we discussed at the top of the video, okay? We want every single piece of edge that we can get on these props. Putting ourselves in a position to possibly pick up these bonuses is going to help us in a major way, okay? So Clark Schmidt will be the next guy. And all of these guys have the upside to get it done without the winning the quality start bonus. I just have to make it known. You want to try to get yourself in a position to get as many of those bonuses as possible. And all these guys have room for error and upside. UC Kikuchi is the next guy. He's taking on the Chicago White Sox lineup. That's terrible. They do have a couple of guys back in this lineup. However, they've been rolling out practically a triple-A lineup all MLB season. They're not too good, man. This is their current season numbers, specifically versus left-handed pitching. They've been terrible. Kikuchi, another dominant lefty, similar to the Ranger Suarez numbers we talked about earlier. Both these guys just dominant lefties that don't give up hard contact, don't walk guys, and strike out guys like crazy. This data you're seeing is just ridiculously good. We're not seeing really any weaknesses. Last 30 days, he's starting to give up a little bit more hard contact to right-handed hitting. But we really only have a few righties in this lineup we're scared of when it comes to that. And they all do have some pretty high strikeouts as well. Like Paul DeJong's a guy with a 219 ISO that can get some power, but he strikes out 32% of the time. With Kikuchi's ability to limit those hard contact numbers throughout the season, and then the strikeout matchup, I feel pretty confident about him being able to go deep in this one. All my models, all my projections have him going pretty deep in this game, pitching very well. So Kikuchi's the next guy, and then lastly, shocker, surprise, surprise, they're -188 favorites. I'm targeting pitchers that are favorited today on this massive slate to try to get that win bonus, try to maximize our upside on these props, okay? And then the last two are going to be two hitters. It's going to be Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez. We got a nice little two-man stack to round things out here. And we can break down precisely why I like these as well. The Houston Astros get to face off against Griffin Canning today, who is terrible versus left-handed hitting. Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, two of the most talented lefties in the entire MLB for hitting. This is a good combination. So first thing we got to look at, how does Canning fare versus left-handed hitting? Terribly. He's only got a 15% K rate. Doesn't strike them out this year. He only walks them 8.8% of the time, which is fantastic. We would prefer for there to be some, meatballs right in the middle of the plate for these guys to hit to rack up some fantasy points. And he gives up a 211 ISO, a 364 WOBA. He's only got a 34% ground ball rate, 33% fly ball rate. He's terrible versus left-handed hitting. He's been much better versus right-handed hitting. Only a 149 ISO and a 288 WOBA. So we prefer the lefties here, and it just so happens we have two, like I said, of the best lefties in the entire MLB. So that's fantastic. Last 30 days, they're starting to heat up even more than they have been on the season. Tucker's ridiculously hot, a 491 ISO, 220 ISO for Yordan, 309 WOBA. Really, the only weakness out of these two bats is Yordan's strikeout rate, and as we discussed, Canning doesn't strike anyone out, right? And then we factor in the implied run total for the Houston Astros. This is going to be a similar story for these last two picks, right? If we're targeting hitters, we would prefer to target them on the same team if at all possible. Prizepicks is going to shift your payout a lot of times. If you put any more than two guys, they're allowing me to put two without a payout shift. But if you start to put a third one in there, like an Altuve, like if we played Altuve, Tucker, and Yordan together in the same ticket, you're going to get that notification that your payout's shifted, okay? But we can play Tucker and Alvarez as our final two legs here. A 5 implied run total. And then lastly, the Los Angeles Angels bullpen is really bad as well. So that's all factored in my research. We can pull up those numbers here. as far as the top bullpens in the entire MLB this year. Can see the Los Angeles Angels come in with the 7th worst bullpen. I have this sorted by the worst xFIP. So the best bullpen in the entire league is going to be the Cleveland Guardians with a 3.31 xFIP. We go down to the bullpen for the Angels. They rank 24th in the entire MLB. So their bullpen is very bad. Okay, that's all factored into my research as well on the back end. So this is going to be a fantastic spot for these two lefties. And lastly, Kyle Tucker has a ton of stolen base upside. He's going to be on the very first page at the top of the leaderboard for stolen bases this year. He just racked up 2 stolen bases last night. I was on his fantasy as well. The stolen base upside can be massive for you guys in the Prizepicks fantasy scoring format. So definitely take advantage of guys that have high stolen base upside. Kyle Tucker comes in as the 19th top guy in the league in stolen bases with 9 stolen bases. Okay, so that's huge. If you can get a guy like that's similar to the win in the quality start bonus we discussed for the hitters. Stolen bases, you get 5 fantasy points. So that's huge. Jordan doesn't have that stolen base upside, unfortunately, for us in this entry, but the correlation and the fact that Jordan's only at 7.5 makes me feel great about it. Oftentimes in a spot this good, Jordan's going to be priced up to 8.0. I guarantee there's a possibility he gets bumped today. And honestly, he probably should be bumped. I feel a lot better targeting a guy with no stolen base upside in a great spot at 7.5 than I do at 8.0 with how Prizepicks fantasy scoring format breaks down. So that will be my full 6-pick flex that I'm running today. First play of the day for the MLB guys. I did send it into the VIP. I did play it myself. As you can see, obviously, this is all plays that I'm actually back with my own money. I do really want to go well. Put 2 units on it if you are tailing and there's no bumps. You know, if you put $5, I'd give you permission to put $10 on this one. Still be responsible. Don't go too crazy if you play a little bit lighter. That's perfectly fine. Feel free to just play the 5 that you typically play. Well, I'll try to 25x our money tonight with this beautiful 6-pick flex that I really like on Prizepicks. So thanks for tuning in. Wishing you all the best of luck on your Prizepicks MLB player props today. If you enjoy, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel on your way out the door. And if you haven't checked out the VIP member package, make sure you do so. Hopefully I get everybody a sweep on the video today. You can hop on over there after with your winnings. That'd be fantastic. That's always the goal. So, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Wishing you all the best of luck on your Prizepicks MLB player props tonight. And we will see you in the next one.